The heart monitor beeped slowly. Each sound felt like a punch to Marcus's chest. There she was, Sarah, lying in that white hospital bed, tubes coming out of her arms. Her beautiful brown hair was gone. All of it. Her face was so thin, he almost didn't recognize her. Before we begin the story, comment below where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Please subscribe to my channel for more sweet videos like this. Let the story continue, the nurse whispered. She's been asking for someone named Marcus. Are you him? Marcus couldn't speak. His hands shook as he stared at the woman he had loved, the woman he had thrown away. Sir? The nurse touched his arm. She doesn't have long. Those words hit him like lightning. Sarah was dying, and it was all his fault. Marcus remembered that terrible night 1 year ago. He could still hear his own cruel words. I'll never marry you, Sarah. You're just not good enough for someone like me. But now, looking at her dying in this cold hospital room, Marcus realized something that made his heart break into a million pieces. He had made the biggest mistake of his life. 1 year earlier. The rain pounded against the windows of Marcus Sterling's mansion. Inside his giant living room, candles flickered on every table. Sarah had spent hours making everything perfect. She wore the blue dress Marcus loved, the one that made her eyes look like the ocean. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking as she touched the small box hidden behind the couch cushion. Tonight was the night. After 3 years together, Sarah was going to ask Marcus to marry her. He loves me, she whispered to herself. He tells me every day. Marcus walked through the front door, shaking water from his expensive coat. His black hair was perfect, as always. His suit cost more than most people made in a month. Sarah? He called out. Why are all these candles lit? Did the power go out? Sarah's heart jumped. No, silly. I wanted to make tonight special. She walked to him with a big smile. Sit down. I made your favorite dinner. Marcus looked around the room. Something felt different. Sarah seemed nervous. Her smile was too big, too bright. They ate dinner mostly in silence. Sarah kept fidgeting with her napkin. Marcus checked his phone 3 times. Marcus, Sarah finally said. We need to talk. Those 4 words made Marcus's stomach drop. In his world, we need to talk usually meant bad news. Sarah stood up and walked to the couch. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely grab the little box. Sarah, what are you doing? Marcus asked. She turned around, holding the box. Tears were already forming in her eyes, but they were happy tears. Marcus Sterling, she said, getting down on one knee. I love you more than anything in this world. You make me laugh every day. You make me want to be better. Will you marry me? The room went completely silent. Even the rain seemed to stop. Marcus stared at her like she had just slapped him. His face turned cold, colder than Sarah had ever seen it. Get up, he said quietly. What? Sarah's voice cracked. I said, get up, Sarah. You're embarrassing yourself. Sarah slowly stood, still holding the ring box. I don't understand. Marcus walked to the window, not looking at her. You really thought I would marry you? Each word felt like a knife in Sarah's heart. But you said you loved me. I do love you, Marcus said, still facing away. But love and marriage are 2 different things. Sarah's hands started shaking harder. What do you mean? Marcus finally turned around. His green eyes were ice cold. Look around, Sarah. Look at this house. Look at my cars, my company. Do you really think you fit into this world? I thought. Sarah couldn't finish her sentence. You work at a coffee shop, Marcus continued. His voice was cruel now. You didn't even finish college. My friends, they all have wives who went to the best schools. Wives who understand business. Wives who can help them grow their companies. Tears poured down Sarah's face. So the last 3 years meant nothing? They meant something, Marcus said. But they weren't leading to marriage. I thought you understood that. Sarah dropped the ring box. It hit the floor with a small crash. You let me fall in love with you. You let me think we had a future. We do have a future, Marcus said. Just not that kind of future. Sarah wiped her tears and looked at him with eyes full of pain. What kind of future, Marcus? What am I to you? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, His words destroyed everything Sarah thought she knew about their relationship. "You're fun, Sarah. You're beautiful. You make me happy when I come home from work. But marry you?" Marcus shook his head. "I'll never marry you. You're just not good enough for someone like me." The words hung in the air like poison. Sarah stared at him, the man she loved, the man she thought loved her back, and she realized she had been living in a dream. "Not good enough," she repeated slowly. "Sarah, don't make this harder than it has to be." But Sarah wasn't listening anymore. Something inside her broke. Not just her heart, her spirit, her belief in herself. She picked up the ring box from the floor. Her hands had stopped shaking. She wasn't crying anymore. "You're right," she said quietly. "I'm not good enough. I never was." She walked toward the door. "Sarah, wait," Marcus called. "Where are you going?" She stopped and turned back to him. Marcus would remember the look on her face for the rest of his life. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was emptiness. "I'm going to become good enough," she said. "But not for you. Never for you again." Sarah opened the door and walked into the rain. She didn't have a car. She didn't have an umbrella. But she walked away from Marcus Sterling's mansion and never looked back. Marcus watched her go. Part of him wanted to run after her. Part of him wanted to take back every cruel word. But his pride was stronger than his heart. He convinced himself he had done the right thing. Sarah would get over it. She would find someone else, someone more suitable for her. Marcus went back inside, blew out all the candles, and went to bed. He had no idea that Sarah walked 15 miles in the rain that night. He had no idea she got sick from being so wet and cold. He had no idea she spent the next week in her tiny apartment, not eating, not sleeping, just crying. And he definitely had no idea that 3 months later, Sarah would disappear completely. One day, she was working at the coffee shop. The next day, she was gone. Her apartment was empty. Her phone was disconnected. It was like Sarah Miller had vanished from the earth. Marcus heard about it from a friend who knew someone who worked with Sarah. At first, he felt a little worried, but then he pushed those feelings away. She probably moved to another city, he told himself. She's starting over somewhere else. Good for her. Marcus went back to his life, his business, his parties, his dates with women who went to the right schools and had the right families. But sometimes, late at night, he would think about Sarah's blue dress, her laugh. The way she looked at him was like he was the most amazing person in the world. He would remember her words, "I'm going to become good enough." And sometimes, just sometimes, Marcus wondered if he had made a mistake, but he never tried to find her. He never asked where she went. He told himself it was better this way. Marcus Sterling had no idea that his cruel words had started a chain of events that would change everything. He had no idea that Sarah's disappearance wasn't about starting over. And he definitely had no idea that exactly 1 year later, he would be standing in a hospital room, watching the only woman he ever truly loved die because of what he had done to her. The heart monitor beeped again. Slower this time. Marcus looked at Sarah's pale face and whispered the words he should have said that rainy night. "I'm sorry." But Sarah couldn't hear him. She was already slipping away. Back in the hospital room. "How did you find me?" Marcus jumped. Sarah's eyes were open. Her voice was so weak he could barely hear it. "Sarah!" He rushed to her bedside. "You're awake!" She tried to sit up, but couldn't. The tubes in her arms made it hard to move. "I asked you a question, Marcus. How did you find me?" Marcus felt his heart breaking all over again. Even dying, Sarah was still strong, still brave. "I hired a private detective," he admitted. "I've been looking for you for 6 months." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but not happy tears, angry tears. "6 months?" she whispered. "I've been gone for a year, Marcus. Why did you wait 6 months to look for me?" Marcus couldn't answer. The truth was too painful. "Tell me," Sarah demanded, her voice getting stronger. "Why now?" Marcus sat down in the chair next to her bed. He looked older than when she last saw him. His perfect hair was messy. His expensive suit was wrinkled. "Because," he said quietly, "I realized I made the biggest mistake of my life." Sarah laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. It was bitter, sad, The biggest mistake of your life, she repeated. Do you want to know what the biggest mistake of my life was, Marcus? He was afraid to ask, but he had to know. What? Believing you when you said you loved me. Those words hit Marcus like a truck. He deserved them, but they still hurt. Sarah, please, let me explain. No. Sarah turned her head away from him. You had your chance to explain a year ago. Instead, you chose to destroy me. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did. Sarah looked back at him, and Marcus saw something in her eyes he had never seen before. Strength. Real strength. You meant every word you said that night. You wanted to hurt me. You wanted to make sure I knew exactly how worthless you thought I was. Marcus opened his mouth to argue, but Sarah wasn't finished. Do you know what happened to me after I left your house that night? Marcus shook his head. I walked 15 miles in the rain. 15 miles, Marcus. By the time I got home, I was so sick I couldn't get out of bed for a week. Marcus felt sick to his stomach. Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't know. But that wasn't the worst part, Sarah continued. The worst part was what happened inside my head. Your words kept playing over and over. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. Tears were streaming down Marcus's face now. Please stop. No, you need to hear this. Sarah's voice was getting weaker, but her words were strong. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I stopped believing I deserved to be alive. Marcus grabbed her hand. Sarah, she pulled her hand away. Don't touch me. The room went quiet except for the beeping of the heart monitor. Why did you disappear? Marcus finally asked. Sarah closed her eyes. For a moment, Marcus thought she had fallen asleep, but then she spoke. I didn't just disappear, Marcus. I went to find myself. What do you mean? Sarah opened her eyes and looked right at him. I meant what I said that night. I was going to become good enough, but I realized something important. What? I was already good enough. I just needed to believe it. Marcus felt confused. Then why are you here? In this hospital? What happened to you? Sarah was quiet for so long that Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. Then she said something that made his blood run cold. I got sick, Marcus. Really sick. And do you know when it started? Marcus was afraid to ask, but he had to know. When? The day after you broke my heart. 6 months earlier. Detective Ray Morrison sat across from Marcus in his huge office. The detective was a big man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been a cop for 30 years before becoming a private investigator. Mr. Sterling, Ray said, looking at the file in his hands. I have to ask, why are you looking for Sarah Miller now? My sources tell me she disappeared almost 6 months ago. Marcus stared out of his office window. The truth was embarrassing. For 6 months after Sarah left, Marcus had tried to forget her. He dated other women, rich women, women from good families, women who went to the best schools. But none of them made him laugh like Sarah did. None of them looked at him like he was special. None of them made him want to come home early from work just to see their smile. I made a mistake, Marcus told the detective. I need to find her and make things right. Ray nodded. He had seen this before. Men who didn't know what they had until it was gone. Finding someone who doesn't want to be found isn't easy, Ray warned, and it's expensive. Money isn't a problem, Marcus said quickly. Just find her. Ray spent 3 weeks following every clue. He talked to Sarah's old coworkers at the coffee shop. He talked to her neighbors. He even talked to her old college friends. Everyone said the same thing. Sarah Miller had disappeared without telling anyone where she was going. But Ray Morrison was good at his job. Really good. He found something everyone else had missed. Mr. Sterling, Ray said when he called Marcus, I found something interesting. Marcus's heart jumped. Did you find her? Not yet, but I found out where she went. Where? Montana, a small town called Pine Ridge. She was living there under a different name. Marcus felt excited and confused at the same time. A different name? Why? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But here's the strange part. What? She's not there anymore. She left Pine Ridge 3 months ago, and Mr. Sterling, the people there, said she was sick when she left. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Sick how? I'm still investigating. but I think I know where she went next. Where? Back here, to the city, but not to her old apartment. Ray paused, and Marcus could hear papers rustling. Mr. Sterling, I think Sarah Miller came back to die. Back in the hospital. What kind of sick? Marcus asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Sarah's eyes were getting heavy. The medicine was making her sleepy, but she fought to stay awake. The doctors have a fancy name for it, she said. But basically, my body is shutting down. Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the chest. But you're only 25 years old. Young people don't just get sick like this. Sarah gave him a sad smile. You're right. Young people don't usually get sick like this, unless something breaks their will to live. What are you saying? I'm saying that when you told me I wasn't good enough, something inside me broke, and I never fixed it. Marcus shook his head. That's not possible. Words can't make someone sick, can't they? Sarah's voice was getting weaker. Have you ever heard of broken heart syndrome, Marcus? He had heard of it, but he thought it was just an expression. It's real, Sarah continued. When someone experiences extreme emotional stress, it can actually damage their heart. And when your heart is damaged, your whole body starts to break down. Marcus felt sick. So this is my fault? Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that surprised him. No, Marcus, it's not your fault. But you just said, I said your words broke something inside me. But what happened after that? That was my choice. Marcus didn't understand. What do you mean? Sarah's eyes were closing. She was fighting sleep, but losing the battle. I chose to believe you, she whispered. I chose to think I wasn't good enough. I chose to stop fighting. But then why did you go to Montana? Why did you change your name? Sarah's eyes opened one more time. She looked at Marcus with an expression he couldn't read. Because I realized something important in Montana. What? I realized that you were wrong about me. I am good enough. I always was. Marcus felt hope for the first time since he walked into the hospital room. Then you can get better. If you believe in yourself now, you can fight this. But Sarah shook her head slowly. It's too late, Marcus. I figured it out too late. The heart monitor started beeping faster. A nurse rushed in. Sir, you need to leave, the nurse said. She needs to rest. No. Marcus stood up. I just found her. I can't leave her again. Sir, please, Sarah whispered. Let him stay. The nurse looked at Sarah, then at Marcus. She could see the pain in both of their eyes. 5 more minutes, she said. Then she really needs to sleep. When the nurse left, Marcus sat back down. He took Sarah's hand, and this time she didn't pull away. Sarah, I need you to know something. What? Marcus looked into her eyes. The same beautiful eyes he had fallen in love with 3 years ago. You were always good enough. I was the one who wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough for your love. I wasn't good enough for your kindness. I wasn't good enough for your heart. Sarah squeezed his hand weakly. Thank you for saying that. I mean it, and I need to tell you something else. What? Marcus took a deep breath. I love you, Sarah Miller. I have loved you from the moment I met you, and I will love you until the day I die. Sarah smiled. It was the first real smile Marcus had seen from her since he walked into the room. I love you too, Marcus Sterling. I always have. They sat in silence, holding hands, both crying. Then Sarah said something that made Marcus's blood freeze. But loving someone and being with them are two different things. Aren't those your words? Before Marcus could answer, Sarah's eyes closed, and her hand went limp in his. The heart monitor started beeping wildly. Nurses rushed into the room. Sir, you have to leave now, someone shouted. Marcus was pushed out of the room as doctors and nurses surrounded Sarah's bed. Through the window, he watched them work on the woman he loved. The woman he had destroyed. The woman he was losing again. And for the first time in his life, Marcus Sterling understood what it felt like to have his heart completely broken. 2 hours later, Marcus sat in the cold hospital hallway, his head in his hands. He had been there for 2 hours, waiting for news about Sarah. Doctors and nurses kept walking past him, but no one would tell him anything. He wasn't family. He was nobody to Sarah now. Mr. Sterling? Marcus looked up. A young doctor with tired eyes was standing in front of him. Yes? I'm Dr. Chen. I've been taking care of Sarah Miller. Marcus jumped to his feet. Is she okay? Please tell me she's okay. Dr. Chen's face was serious. She's stable for now, but we need to talk. They walked to a small room with 2 chairs and a table. Dr. Chen closed the door. Mr. Sterling, what is your relationship to Sarah? Marcus didn't know how to answer. I'm someone who cares about her very much. Dr. Chen nodded. Sarah asked me to talk to you. She wants you to know the truth about her condition. The truth? What do you mean? Dr. Chen pulled out a thick file. Sarah Miller has been my patient for 3 months. When she came to me, she was very sick, but not just physically. I don't understand. Mr. Sterling, have you ever heard of Takotsubo cardiomyopathy? Marcus shook his head. It's the medical name for broken heart syndrome. It's a real condition where extreme emotional stress damages the heart muscle. The heart becomes weak and can't pump blood properly. Marcus felt sick. So I really did this to her. That's not the whole story, doctor, Chen said. Sarah's condition is complicated. The emotional trauma started the heart problems, yes. But what made her really sick was what she did to herself afterward. What do you mean? Dr. Chen opened the file. When Sarah came to see me 3 months ago, she weighed 87 pounds. That's 40 pounds less than when she left the city a year ago. Marcus felt the room spinning. She stopped eating? She stopped everything, Mr. Sterling. Eating, sleeping, taking care of herself. For months, she was slowly killing herself. Marcus put his head in his hands. This is all my fault. No, it's not. Marcus looked up, surprised. Sarah made me promise to tell you something, Dr. Chen continued. She said it's not your fault because she made a choice. She chose to let your words destroy her self-worth. But my words started it all. Yes, they did. But what happened in Montana changed everything. Marcus leaned forward. What happened in Montana? Dr. Chen smiled for the first time since they started talking. She found her strength again. 8 months earlier, Pine Ridge, Montana. Sarah walked into the small diner with shaking hands. She had been in Pine Ridge for 3 weeks, and this was the first time she had left her tiny motel room. She had driven to Montana with no plan. She just needed to get as far away from Marcus Sterling as possible. Pine Ridge was a town with 847 people, 1 main street, and lots of mountains. It was perfect for disappearing. Can I help you, honey? Sarah looked up at the waitress. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Her name tag said, Betty. I'd like some coffee, please. Betty looked at Sarah carefully. The girl was too thin. Her clothes were too big. Her eyes looked empty. When's the last time you ate something? Betty asked. Sarah couldn't remember. I'm not really hungry. Nonsense. You sit right there. Betty disappeared into the kitchen. She came back with a huge plate of eggs, bacon, toast, and pancakes. I didn't order this, Sarah said. I know, but you're going to eat it anyway. Betty sat down across from Sarah. What's your name, honey? Sarah hesitated. She had been using a fake name since she got to Montana. Emma Johnson. Betty nodded, but Sarah could tell she didn't believe her. Well, Emma Johnson, you look like someone who's running from something. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I'm not running. I'm just starting over. Starting over is good, Betty said, but you can't start over if you're half dead. Over the next few weeks, Betty became like a mother to Sarah. She made sure Sarah ate. She found Sarah a job cleaning tables at the diner. She even found Sarah a small apartment above the town's only bookstore. Why are you being so nice to me? Sarah asked one day. Betty smiled. Because 30 years ago, I was you. What do you mean? I came to Pine Ridge, running from a man who broke my heart. I was angry and hurt, and convinced I wasn't worth anything. Sarah stopped cleaning the table she was working on. What happened? I met someone who showed me that the man who broke my heart was wrong about me. And eventually, I showed myself that he was wrong. How? Betty pointed around the diner. I built this place. From nothing. With my own 2 hands and my own brain. And you know what I realized? What? I realized that a person who can build something beautiful from nothing was never worthless. I was always valuable. I just needed to prove it to myself. That night, Sarah sat in her small apartment and thought about Betty's words. For the first time in months, she felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe Marcus was wrong about her. Maybe she was worth something. Sarah started eating regularly. She started sleeping through the night. She started taking care of herself again. And then she started dreaming. Sarah had always wanted to write. In college, before she dropped out to work full-time, she had studied journalism. She was good at it, really good. "Betty," Sarah said one morning, "do you think the town newspaper would let me write for them?" Betty grinned. "Honey, we don't have a town newspaper." "Then maybe I should start one." 6 months later, Sarah had created something amazing. The Pine Ridge Voice was a small weekly newspaper that covered local news, business updates, and human interest stories. Sarah wrote every article. She sold the advertisements. She delivered the papers herself, and people loved it. "Emma," the mayor told her, "this newspaper is the best thing that's happened to our town in years." For the first time since Marcus broke her heart, Sarah felt proud of herself. She was building something with her own hands and her own brain. She was proving that she was valuable. But then something happened that changed everything. One day, Sarah was interviewing Mrs. Patterson, an elderly woman who ran the town's library. They were talking about a charity event when Mrs. Patterson said something that made Sarah's heart stop. "You know, Emma, you remind me of my granddaughter. She lives in the city and works for a big company, always stressed, always worried about impressing people who don't matter." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" "Well, she's dating this rich man. Marcus something. Marcus Sterling, I think. Anyway, she's always trying to be good enough for him, always worried he's going to leave her for someone better." Sarah dropped her pen. "Did you say Marcus Sterling?" "Yes. Do you know him?" Sarah's world started spinning. Marcus was dating someone new. Someone who was probably everything Sarah wasn't. Someone from the right family, with the right education, with the right everything. All of Sarah's progress, all of her healing, all of her newfound confidence crashed down in that moment. She realized something terrible. She hadn't gotten over Marcus Sterling at all. She had just been hiding from him. That night, Sarah made a decision that would change everything. She was going to go back to the city. She was going to face Marcus one more time. She was going to show him that she had become someone amazing. And then she was going to say goodbye forever. But Sarah had no idea that the stress of seeing Marcus again would make her sick. Really sick. She had no idea that her heart, weakened by months of broken heart syndrome, couldn't handle any more emotional trauma. And she definitely had no idea that by the time she made it back to the city, she would be dying. Back in the hospital. "So she came back to show you what she had accomplished," Dr. Chen said. She was proud of what she had built in Montana. Marcus felt his heart breaking all over again. "She came back for me?" "Not exactly. She came back to prove to herself that she was strong enough to face you. But when she got here..." "What happened?" Dr. Chen's face grew sad. "She found out about your engagement." Marcus felt like he had been hit by lightning. "My what?" "Your engagement to Victoria Hamilton. It was in all the society papers 3 months ago." Marcus's mouth fell open. "But I'm not engaged! I broke up with Victoria 2 months ago!" Dr. Chen looked confused. "But the newspapers..." "The newspapers were wrong!" Marcus stood up. "Victoria told them we were engaged because she wanted it to be true. But I said no!" "Mr. Sterling, Sarah doesn't know that." Marcus felt panic rising in his chest. "Where is she? I have to tell her!" "You can't. She's sleeping, and she's very weak. The shock of thinking you were engaged caused another episode. Her heart couldn't handle it." Marcus started pacing the small room. "So she thinks I'm marrying someone else?" "Yes, and Mr. Sterling, there's something else you need to know." Marcus stopped pacing. "What?" Dr. Chen looked at his file again. Sarah made a decision when she saw those engagement announcements. She decided to stop fighting her illness. "What do you mean?" "She stopped taking her medication. She stopped coming to her appointments. She gave up." Marcus felt like the room was closing in on him. "How long does she have?" "Doctor." Chen was quiet for a long moment. "If she keeps fighting, Maybe a few weeks. But if she's given up, how long? Maybe a few days. Marcus sank into his chair. I have to tell her the truth. I have to tell her I'm not engaged. Mr. Sterling, I don't think you understand. Her heart is extremely fragile right now. Any shock, good or bad, could kill her instantly. So if I tell her I'm not engaged, it could save her life. Or it could stop her heart completely. Marcus stared at Dr. Chen. He was facing an impossible choice. Tell Sarah the truth and risk killing her with the shock, or let her die thinking he was marrying someone else. What would you do? Marcus asked. Dr. Chen closed the file. I would tell her the truth, because if someone I loved was dying, I would want them to know they were loved back, even if it killed them. Marcus nodded slowly. When can I see her? She should wake up in a few hours. But Mr. Sterling. Yes? If you're going to tell her, you need to be sure, because you might only get one chance. Marcus left the hospital as the sun was setting. He had a few hours to decide whether to save Sarah's life or accidentally end it. But as he walked to his car, Marcus realized something that made his decision easy. He would rather die himself than let Sarah spend her last days thinking he didn't love her. Even if telling her the truth killed her, at least she would die knowing she was loved. Marcus got in his car and drove home to prepare for the most important conversation of his life. He had no idea that someone was watching him from a black sedan across the street. And he definitely had no idea that the person in that car was about to make his impossible situation even worse.